November 19, 1944. Camp Hearn, Texas. The transport truck lurched to a stop outside the gates of a prisoner of war camp that looked nothing like what Sophia Bauer had imagined. She had expected barbed wire and watchtowers, gray buildings, and armed guards with hostile faces. What she saw instead was a sprawling compound under a vast Texas sky with wooden barracks that looked almost comfortable in the fading afternoon light. Beside her, 29 other German women sat in tense silence, their auxiliary corps uniforms dusty and worn from the long journey. Sophia was 24 years old, an administrative clerk from Munich who had believed she was serving her country's defense. Now she was a prisoner in enemy territory, thousands of miles from home, facing an uncertain future that terrified her. The younger women looked even more frightened. 19-year-old Clara Hoffman clutched a small photograph of her family, her hands trembling. Frieda Klein, just 21, stared straight ahead with the blank expression of someone trying not to cry. The guards who met them were professional, but not cruel. They processed the women efficiently, assigning them to barracks and explaining camp rules in English that most barely understood. Sophia, who had studied English in school, found herself translating for the others, her voice shaking. The American soldiers didn't shout or threaten. They simply went about their duties with a matter-of-fact efficiency that was somehow more unsettling than hostility would have been. As evening approached, a guard announced it was time for dinner. The women exchanged nervous glances. They had heard stories about prison camps, about starvation rations, and cruel deprivation. Sophia remembered the propaganda she had been shown, about American brutality, about how prisoners were treated worse than animals. She steeled herself for whatever meager scraps they would be given, determined to maintain her dignity no matter what humiliation awaited them. They were led to a large dining hall that smelled of wood smoke and spices. Long tables were set with metal trays and cups, and then the food began to arrive. Private Carlos Martinez, a young Mexican-American soldier with kind eyes, carried large pots to each table. He ladled something into their bowls, a thick reddish-brown mixture that steamed in the cooling evening air. Beside it, he placed squares of golden bread glistening with butter. Sophia stared at her tray in complete confusion. The bread was unlike anything she had seen, crumbly and golden yellow with a slightly sweet smell. The bowl contained beans and a rich spicy sauce with chunks of meat floating in it. Around her, the other women sat frozen, uncertain whether this was some kind of test. Clara lifted a spoonful to her lips and tasted it. Her eyes widened in shock. The taste was nothing like she expected. The chili was rich and complex with layers of flavor she couldn't identify. There was heat, yes, but also depth. Tomatoes, meat, beans, and spices that danced on her tongue in ways that German food never had. She took another spoonful, then another, unable to stop herself. Around the table, other women had similar experiences, their faces showing shock and guilty pleasure. Sophia picked up the square of golden bread and broke off a piece. It was still warm, crumbling slightly. She took a small bite and felt her eyes prickle with emotion. The cornbread was slightly sweet, buttery, with a texture that was both cake-like and substantial. It wasn't German bread, but it was undeniably good. When she dipped it into the chili, the combination was even better. The sweet bread balanced the spicy sauce in a way that felt almost magical. Across the mess hall, cook Ruth Henderson watched the German women's reactions with quiet satisfaction. The 56-year-old woman had been cooking in this camp for 2 years, feeding German and Italian prisoners alongside American soldiers. She had seen this same expression many times before, the shock of discovering that their captors weren't monsters, that American food could be generous and flavorful, that perhaps everything they had been told was a lie. She nodded to Carlos, who continued serving second helpings to any woman who timidly raised her hand. 32-year-old Ingrid Mueller, the former nurse from Hamburg, ate slowly and methodically, but her mind was racing. She had spent months believing that capture meant death or worse. The propaganda had been clear. Americans were barbaric, especially toward women. They would be starved, abused, perhaps killed. Yet here she sat, eating a meal that was not only adequate but actually delicious. The cognitive dissonance was almost physically painful. How could enemies feed you this well? How could the people you had been taught to hate show such casual generosity? 27-year-old Helga Richter, the radio operator from Frankfurt, refused to let herself enjoy the meal. She ate because she was hungry, but kept her face carefully neutral, her posture rigid. This was a trick, she told herself. They were fattening the prisoners for some purpose or trying to win cooperation through false kindness. Real enemies didn't feed you their own food, didn't give you warm bread and seasoned meat. She would not be manipulated by American propaganda, even if it came in surprisingly good chili. But even as Helga maintained her defensive walls, she noticed small details that chipped away at her certainty. The guards ate the same food, sitting at nearby tables talking. Private Martinez smiled when he offered second helpings, a genuine smile. Corporal Margaret Wilson, one of the few female guards, walked through checking on the women. There was no cruelty in her face, just concern. 3 weeks into their captivity, routines began to feel almost normal. But it was Sophia Bauer who experienced the most unexpected transformation when Sergeant Robert Mitchell approached her with an unusual request. "Miss Bauer," he said, "Cook Henderson needs help. You interested in kitchen work?" Sophia nodded slowly. The next morning she stood in the large camp kitchen, overwhelmed by industrial-sized pots and unfamiliar ingredients. Ruth Henderson, a commanding presence in her white apron, nodded toward a pile of vegetables. "Can you chop?" Sophia picked up a knife, grateful for a task she understood. As she worked, Ruth noticed her wide-eyed observation and chuckled warmly. "In America, we believe in feeding people proper. Don't matter if you're a soldier or a prisoner. Everybody eats." She paused thoughtfully. "My people know what it's like to be treated less than human. I don't hold with that, no matter who you are." The words hung heavy between them. Ruth Henderson was black, showing kindness to German prisoners from a nation built on racial hierarchy. The irony wasn't lost on Sophia. Later, after Germany's surrender, 11 women, including Sophia, Ingrid, Frida, Clara, and Helga, asked to stay rather than return to a ruined homeland. They'd learned that enemies could become something far better than expected. Years later, in 1970, Sophia Bauer Mitchell prepared Thanksgiving dinner in Austin, Texas. Her friends arrived: Ingrid Muller, now head nurse, Frida Klein Davis, a translator, and Clara Hoffman Henderson, who'd inherited Ruth's restaurant. They raised their glasses in remembrance of the woman who had shown them a different path. "To Ruth," Sophia said softly. The chili was delicious, but what really nourished them was something much deeper and more profound. It was the memory of discovering they could become better people than they'd been. That transformation was what America had truly given them. It was a lesson they would carry forever.